They thought drowning her would be the end, but when she rose from the depths, the ocean bowed to her. She wasn't just a woman they betrayed, she was a Navy SEAL, and water was her battlefield. The night was heavy with mist, the moon veiled behind clouds as the yacht drifted quietly through the Pacific. The ocean was calm, deceitfully calm. Alina Price stood at the edge of the deck, her wrists bound, her breath sharp with disbelief. The men she once called her brothers, men she trained, fought, and nearly died beside, surrounded her, their faces hard, unreadable under the dim deck lights. She was a Navy SEAL, trained for everything, but not betrayal. Commander Jason Cole, her former teammate and once her closest ally, stepped forward, his eyes colder than the steel knife in his hand. "You weren't supposed to find out, Alina," he said flatly, his voice void of remorse. "This isn't personal," but it was personal, deeply, painfully personal. She had discovered what they did, black ops gone wrong, civilians killed, the cover-up paid for in blood and silence. She refused to stay quiet. That was her crime. The ocean rocked slightly as two men grabbed her by the arms. She struggled, not out of fear, but fury. "You think this will stop the truth?" she spat. Jason leaned close, his voice a whisper. "No one will find you, Price. The ocean keeps its secrets." And with that, they threw her overboard. The water swallowed her scream. For a moment, the world went black. The cold bit into her bones, the weight of her gear pulling her down. But Alina was not like the others they'd silenced. As she sank, her training took over, lungs rationing air, body adjusting to the temperature, mind calculating. She cut her wrists free with a hidden blade she'd worn for years, a SEAL's instinct. The deeper she fell, the calmer she became. Fear had no place here. She touched the depths of the ocean floor, and pushed herself upward. Above her, the yacht's lights blurred into fading ghosts. Below her, the darkness whispered promises of revenge. Alina Price wasn't dead, she was just beginning to breathe. Salt burned her lungs as she broke through the surface, gasping. The yacht was gone, a distant speck swallowed by fog. Waves crashed over her, but Alina kicked steadily, methodically. She was 20 miles offshore, and alive. The irony wasn't lost on her. They'd forgotten who she was, the only female SEAL in her unit, the one who trained in cold water survival, deep diving combat, and zero visibility navigation. The ocean wasn't her grave, it was her ally. Hours passed before she found debris, a floating crate, half submerged. She held onto it, resting, planning. Dawn bled across the horizon, painting the water gold. Her mind replayed every second, Jason's eyes, the betrayal, the shove. Anger didn't cloud her thinking, it sharpened it. They thought she'd expose their crimes, and she would. But not with words, with justice. A passing fishing trawler spotted her mid-morning. They hauled her aboard, shocked to find a half-dead woman in SEAL-grade wetsuit gear. "Name?" one asked. She hesitated, then smiled faintly. "Call me, Ghost." It was the nickname her team once gave her, the one who vanished underwater, the silent killer. She stayed on the boat until they reached the coast of California. There, she disappeared before anyone could ask questions. Within hours, she had reconnected with a shadow network of ex-SEALs and covert allies, men who owed her favors, women who trusted her leadership. In an abandoned Marine base near San Diego, she began to rebuild. Files, photos, Black Ops reports, all the evidence she'd collected before the betrayal. They thought they'd erased her. But the ocean had kept her secret safe. The water had carried her home. Within weeks, Alina's plan took shape, Operation Ghost Tide. It was simple: hunt the hunters. She knew each of the men who betrayed her, their families, their habits, their weaknesses. But she wouldn't kill them in the dark like they'd done to others. No, she would expose them. The first target was Miller, the tech officer who falsified mission reports. He lived alone in a high-rise, drunk on the money from black market arms deals. Using the SEAL infiltration techniques she mastered, Alina broke in without a sound. When Miller turned on his lights, she was standing there, dripping wet, eyes like storm clouds. "You should have finished the job," she said softly. His scream was muffled by the silencer. She didn't kill him, just wounded him, left a flash drive on his chest containing every file that tied him to the mission. Within 24 hours, the data hit global intelligence servers. Miller was arrested. The second was Torres, explosives expert, now working security for a private oil company. Alina tracked him to Baja, where he guarded offshore drilling rigs. One night, the rig alarms blared, and Torres found himself surrounded by the same black smoke grenades he once used in combat. As the smoke cleared, she stood in the mist. "You taught me how to breathe underwater," she said. "Now let's see how long you last." She didn't kill him either. She wanted them alive, to face consequences in the daylight. Each takedown sent a message to Jason Cole: "I'm coming for you." The ocean, once their silent accomplice, now carried her war cry. Jason Cole knew she was alive. When the first two arrests hit the news, he recognized the signature: precision, stealth, mercy laced with vengeance. Only Alina Price worked like that. He tightened his circle, hired ex-mercenaries to guard him. But paranoia was already gnawing at his mind. Every ripple in the water, every sound of rain, he thought it was her. Because he knew one truth: Alina didn't stop. Not until balance was restored. Meanwhile, she infiltrated his company, Cole Maritime Security, a defense contractor with deep government ties. Posing as a systems analyst under a false identity, she began leaking internal memos to investigative journalists. Every secret she unearthed was a nail in his coffin. One night, she found herself standing in front of his office, the same man who once taught her to trust, to lead, to kill. She watched him through the glass, older now, restless. He poured himself whiskey and stared at his reflection, haunted by what he couldn't bury. Alina whispered to herself, "The ocean always returns what's lost." It wasn't time yet, not until he felt what she felt: isolation, betrayal, drowning in silence. The storm hit the coast with biblical fury. Waves slammed against the docks where Jason's company stored private submarines. That night, Alina struck. Disguised in a wetsuit, she cut through the water, disabling security systems. One by one, his mercenaries fell, tranquilized, bound, left with dog tags marked, "Ghost Tide." She moved through the compound like vapor, silent and merciless. Finally, she reached Jason's control room. "You shouldn't have come back," he said when she stepped inside, gun drawn. She lowered it. "You shouldn't have thrown me away." Rain drummed on the windows. Thunder rolled like an execution drum. "You could have joined me," he said bitterly. "We were gods, Alina. You ruined that." Her voice broke, but only slightly. "You stopped being a god the moment you forgot what it meant to serve." The fight that followed was brutal. No tactics, just rage. He was strong, but she was faster, calmer. Years of pain turned into precision. When it ended, Jason lay on the floor, disarmed, bloodied. She aimed the gun, then stopped. "You'll answer for it, all of it." She left him alive, handcuffed, surrounded by evidence. By morning, the world knew. Every corrupt operation, every lie, every civilian death Jason and his team covered up, broadcast globally. Alina's files were authenticated by multiple agencies. The military couldn't deny it. Arrests followed. Cole Maritime collapsed. Jason tried to flee, but he was caught at the marina, the same one where he'd once celebrated SEAL victories with her. "You survived the ocean," he told her when they met again during his transfer. "Guess you really do own the water." She looked at him through the glass divider. "No," she said quietly. "The ocean owns me. I just listen to it." Then she turned and walked away, disappearing into the mist once more. Months passed. The world moved on, but somewhere off the coast, a small black ops boat sliced through the waves. A team of new SEAL recruits stood on deck, eyes fixed on the woman in front of them, their new instructor. Alina Price. She'd returned, not as a victim, but as a legend. "Lesson 1, she said, her voice steady, commanding. "The ocean doesn't forgive mistakes. Neither do I." The recruits straightened. "Lesson 2, she continued, looking at the horizon. "Never underestimate what the sea can take, or what it can give back." The wind carried her words across the water like a promise. Somewhere deep below, the ocean roared, alive, eternal, and loyal only to those who respected it. Alina closed her eyes, feeling the pull of the tide. She wasn't just a survivor. She was the storm. They tried to drown her in darkness, but she rose with the tide. Because real warriors don't sink, they rise, they fight, and they conquer. If her courage moved you, hit like, share this story with someone who needs to remember their strength, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories of resilience, justice, and redemption. Because here, every story proves one thing: kindness and courage always return, just like the tide.